Thank you.
Everybody.
Thank you.
Welcome to the September 8th Water Sewer Commission meeting.
The recording has started.
I'm going to go right into superintendent update. John, do you have a copy from Frank?
I do.
John Harrop is our, I guess you'd call it, acting superintendent in the absence of our actual superintendent, Frank Fournier. So, John, please go ahead with the update.
Okay, we have fire pump flow tests, which was performed a few weeks ago on Wednesday the 26th. At 9 a.m. our staff worked with members of Platinum Fire Services Incorporated at 19 Leonard Street as they performed a fire pump test. These tests included pump operations to simulate different fire zone operations with multiple different flows, including a full flow test of the 2,000 gallon per minute pump. Before, during, and after the test, our employees monitored the distribution system, taking pressure readings and quality samples. The pump and our distribution system both acted as expected and did not have any negative effects from the test on our system. We will look at scheduling other flow tests that have been on hold, possibly beginning the second or third week of September.
Very good.
Next is the East Main Street Mass DOT project, Route 123 project, which had been an original estimated cost of around $700,000, which was supplied by the town's engineer, VHB. Now has an actual number associated with our portion of improvement project. That number is now $809,130,000. This is how it was explained to us. The additional costs are largely related to how the state figures the costs for a particular item, which differs from how the estimate was comprised. VHB based the cost per item on a weighted average and then multiplied that amount by the quantity. When the project went out to bid, the contractors used a similar method to determine cost per item, then determine what staff and equipment are necessary to finish each task. Each employee and piece of equipment fall under the federal requirement for prevailing wage. The cost varies based on job title and age and size of each piece of equipment used, which add to the cost per item.
And that's kind of a item that we don't have as a town a lot of control over. The state, it's the town and then the state and then the federal in the hierarchy of things. So the state kind of dictates the way that goes. And so our estimate, although somewhat complete and detailed, as John said, was mixed around by the requirements that the state imposes. So we kind of are at their mercy on that. We'll just have to act accordingly.
And the last item on here is the Elm Street project, the old Reed and Barton building on the corner of Elm and Cross.
Yep.
Where the EPA and DEP have been working. They will soon be having another section of that building removed. At the request of the building commissioner, our department has met with EPA on site and have remarked the water pipes that once supplied the facility. With the removal of the buildings that were unsafe and collapsing, we were able to gain access to a few fire hydrants and post indicator valves in the center of the mill complex to verify the best of our ability that the water mains supplying them are off. We did determine from an old set of plans and some site investigation that there are two water services on Elm Street that did feed the office and a building to the right of that, which was torn down many years ago. These services are still in place. Based on our records, although these services are turned off, they were never disconnected from a water main. We have called DigSafe and will schedule to disconnect them once we are cleared. We will also be replacing a couple of older fire hydrants on Elm Street as part of our distribution maintenance and improvement program.
So the mains, I gotta imagine they're pretty good for serving the sprinkler in the building. Is that what I'm hearing on site? There are hydrants?
Yeah, so there's a hydrant, just if you're traveling down Elm Street and Reed Martin's on your right.
Okay.
There is a hydrant at the entrance, the last entrance on the right, set back.
Yep.
And I haven't been down there in a long time, but I'm pretty sure there's another hydrant farther back in the property as well.
Okay.
I know that Dave and I believe Chris were down there either last week or the week before doing some investigating down
To
there.
confirm that they're off.
That they're off, yeah. But
Are there live sprinklers in the building still or no?
I don't know.
I know they're demoing piece by piece and...
Yeah, I know the whole front section's taken down. The cross street side is down. I don't think the sprinklers are on. I believe they are off coming in,
Gotcha.
but they're still alive. But that'd be
Okay.
something I'd have to verify.
So my action request for that address would be the active or inactive status of the remaining sprinklers. We got to know that if they're still there, and I guess they would have to be capped in the building. And then as we enter the heating months, they'd have to be heated, which I don't know whether it was or not. I want to confirm as they start cutting and jumping around it, if for some reason, because I know vandalism was a problem, and that was one of the reasons the building official and the others in town wanted some of that place demolished or sectioned out. If for some reason vandals set fire to the building, I want to know that, number one, that we have very good information within ourselves and also communicated to the fire department which hydrants in that corner are active. Number two, whether or not the remaining sprinklers in the building are active. If my memory serves me, I think they shut the sprinklers off some time ago because it was not going to be heated going forward, but again, I can't be sure, and I'd rather just have I know there are, like you said, a lot of people on site. There's got to be somebody in an office trailer over there who has access to sprinklers, and either you can do a pressure check or something to make sure either they're on or off, and then whichever situation that trips, please, I don't know if you hood the hydrants that are off or you mark them, whatever the protocol is.
Right.
We've got to double check because they are on private property, but whatever, we need to grab the bull by the horns on this one because there is nobody we have as an owner on there. They've at this point abandoned the property and given us the lovely pleasure as a town of the hundreds of thousands of dollars of cleaning up their mess.
Right.
Which we really love. But thanks for that, John.
Yep,
Those
my
are
pleasure.
two. One is the hydrant, two is the sprinkler.
That's all that's on here. So.
Very good. Are you doing cranks rounds? What is your day-to-day stuff look like right now?
Any pertinent stuff he is emailing me about. It's been kind of lighter around here. Sampling in the end of August was kind of lighter. I believe they started sampling this week again. So, I will actually be out a couple days this week, so it's a lighter week for me. But I kind of oversee anything in there that needs to be done that day, and other than that, I'm kind of doing the usual stuff.
Frank, you can say it. I'm with you. It's a good thing handing off to the boss. I'm all right. I wanted to know what the.
I'll turn on it.
I will thank you for standing in for Frank. It was very concise and to the point.
Oh, my pleasure.
I'm sure Frank will watch it or listen to it and be equally as happy. as we have a 6 o'clock with folks from Plain Street, I'm gonna jump around a little, because we do have just a few more minutes. If whoever wants to be first from Weston and Sampson, Sarah, it seems like you've got the nod.
Sure.
It's good to have you back. I know you were remote at one point, so.
Yeah, no power. It was great.
That's
No cell service, no power,
like
off the grid.
1800s remote.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
All right.
Came back to reality. So thank you, Town Mechanics of Weston and Sampson. I'm just going to update everybody on the water projects right now. We have a couple that are active. Most of them are dormant until the fall. A nice update on the treatment plant was that we actually were able to take well 5 offline today and complete the remaining electrical work. We were kind of waiting for peak demand to kind of subside a little bit. They were able to have the National Grid line crew, emergency crew on site to be able to turn the power back on and off as needed, and we were able to complete that work today. So everything's back up and running as of around 3 o'clock this afternoon. So it was completed in one day. That was what was anticipated. There's a little bit of remaining work, but nothing that's critical that would require, any type of long-term shutdown like that. So the extra precautions that were taken, luckily were not needed, but it was good to have the dedicated line crew, because you never just know when they might be able to come back out once they turn off the power to that site. So that work's complete. There's really not much of an update on the other items. That was kind of what we were really trying to focus on getting done in between the sampling events as well with town. So I'm waiting for an official update from the general contractor on that, but a quick update from Derek was that things went well, and they were back up and running by the end of the day. So that's good news. I know Frank is working on talking with Keith Silver at Highway about when we can get the permanent trench wrapped up for Pine Street. That work was scheduled for the fall, so we're just trying to narrow down specific dates, September, October, exactly when that work will be completed by our contractor for that. And then the other projects are pretty much on hold. So we've wrapped up homes in East Main Street. And the well work, we have a notice of intent secondary meeting with the Conservation Commission scheduled for Monday night. We've updated the plan to some feedback from the commission, and are hoping for a determination to close out that work. We do have a decent file number now from the state, so that's good to know. So we're hoping to wrap that up in the next meeting. Of course, it's all dependent on additional questions that might come up from the commission, but overall, that's moving forward. We've got a signed amendment for the next 2 phases for that project, and we do anticipate hiring the well driller as soon as we have permission from conservation to start that work. So that'll be in 2 phases. We'll start the drilling of the well itself, replacement wells for 5 and 6 to do that work first, and then we'll put together a package for bidding to insert pumps into those wells, do the final casing cap off, and then also do all the electrical trenching work to the existing stations to bring power and water samples into the station. So that'll be an actual bid project after the well construction is complete. So that'll kind of continue over the winter, and then we're anticipating a bid sometime for a late winter, early spring bid opening with contractor award to start work early springtime whenever we're ready to go. So
Very good.
that's a pretty quick update on the water.
Sarah, if I may, what becomes of the existing 5 and 6 wells? Are they decommissioned? Are the casings pulled out, or how does that all work?
So there is an abandonment,
Okay.
that's a requirement, as part of our work with the state. Once you have your new wells ready to go and they're up and running, then you can take those offline, and then we'll go through the proper decommissioning of those wells. So they will not be active sources. They'll be considered inactive decommissioned sources, and your permanent wells will be the new replacement location.
Okay, so those wells actually get removed and filled, or?
We typically would
It's
just kind of
mothballed.
abandon it more or less in a just kind of cap it off.
Okay.
There's no need to take the casings
No
out or
removal.
anything like that. They're actually physically inside those stations,
Right.
so there'd be a little bit extra work to kind of do that. So we just need to isolate and make sure that they're inactive. So there's not a huge amount of work that you'd want to really spend money on to decommission. You could totally, remove them and go through that whole process, but that's kind of an expense that's not really necessary.
All right. Thank you.
Sure. Any other questions? Or?
What has become of our I want to call it the tight regen tank, but it really isn't so tight. So what about the regen tank work? Has that been sealed satisfactorily? Are they still testing?
So the last update I received was that the contractor was having one of their waterproofing specialists back on site to take a look at it and review. As far as I know, though, the leaks are still continuing. It's not satisfactory on our end, so we're waiting for an update next on their,
Yep.
on their next steps.
What in your experience, have you ever seen this before, or anybody from Weston and Sampson seen leaky tanks?
Yes, so,
What do we do, Tyler?
in this case, the contractor is responsible for fixing it, and at this point, it's their responsibility to kind of propose suggested improvements. The situation that we're dealing with right now is more of a time situation, so they're kind of at their trial and error stage, and at the last point, it was indicated to us that was what they felt was going to work. Obviously, each time they've attempted to seal up the leaks, they've done, in a sense, a minimum effort, and then had to expand upon that each subsequent time. So we're at a point where I believe the only other solution would be to seal the entire tank. There are individual sections. These are approximately 100 feet long, so they're individual segments of concrete, kind of like a culvert setup.
Box culvert.
So they have joints. The thought is that one of the joints was probably the gasket in between had rolled and was not 100% sealed. We have looked at some of the.
If that's the case, though, if that's sealed, if that's rolled, what's sealing going to do?
You can actually put a new. What they've been doing is basically coating. So they have been inserting. The last was an actual epoxy system. And just at the joints and along the areas where it looked like there was some cracking, there's always been, with concrete pours, there's always a little bit of hairline cracks and whatnot. So they weren't 100% sure where all the leaks were. Without excavating and it's a very tight site, as everybody's aware, at that location. So, there are ways that you could certainly see leakage if you excavated all around and took a look at it, but obviously that's not really something that's economical nor an option. We've been in discussions before they went through this sealant with just some epoxy coating specialists and talked to them a little bit more about what are the next steps. And there is an additional next layer that would be, if you have a joint, you would actually have a special insertion seal that would go in there and then coat on top of that. So there is a more robust setup that you would actually coat the entire with a liner, if you will.
Is digging this up out of the realm of the possibility, or?
It closes down the plant.
It's not
Is it in the driveway?
yeah, you're
There's two of them.
Freshly paved driveway.
Yeah, unfortunately, you're due to the environmental constraints as far as the wetlands, as well as the natural heritage, the Native American artifacts and whatnot. So the boundaries of where you're located with your site, that recycle tank is actually located partially underneath the driveway. The secondary tank is not. So,
Like the one that's leaking is underneath the driveway?
yes. Yep. So the other one doesn't leak. It was installed with no issues. This one does. It is a small amount of leakage, but it is something that we're considering not suitable. So I'm waiting for a plan from them on what their next steps are with the timeline.
At what point do we say, I don't think we're getting what we paid for, and we hire a third party to go in and seal our tank? Because, as luck would have it, I was out there the day that, let me see, it wasn't Gravity. Gravity's a good contractor. That was Maverick, that contractor. And, they weren't having such a good time with that. As an excavator myself, I saw confusion and frustration. And I believe that led to the cracking and the bumping and possibly the rolling and the leakage now. So I'm not really willing to wait that much longer. I feel like they've had ample time. I'll give them one more little bite at the apple, but at a certain point, we have to serve the ratepayers and the customers of our water system and our town as a whole, and require that an outside third party hired by Methuen come in and assess, solve, and fix it to them. I don't know how else to proceed, because their bubble gum isn't gonna work for us as a group long-term, and, they've had, was it two, partial seals or whatever, and I know they're trying to get out as quickly and easily as they can, but, at this point, I see a divergence of goals and objectives between the town and our general contractor. We really want the $11 million treatment plant that we bought, and Methuen wants to just wrap it up and get out of Norton. And I understand both points of view, but sitting where I sit, we are only charged with serving the town and the ratepayers, and I don't think we're doing a good job right now if we let them just bubble gum it and go away, even though I may get a, or we may get a bond on it. I just, in the very near future, I would like to see a third party hired by Methuen to assess and possibly cure their inadequacies on this tank.
Sure, and I can relay that to them. They brought in a waterproofing specialist that we could consult with a secondary.
Right. It's you know, in a operation of this breadth and depth, literally and figuratively, I see that underground tank as a permanent structure, at least 50 years, maybe longer, if you know, if it's installed properly. Concrete's a very, very stable thing underground, and I witnessed the, like I said, the installation, and it wasn't a streamlined, linear, thing, and, I made my walkthroughs intermittently, and, my observations as a contractor, and I've seen better contractors, and I hate to say that, there's nothing else I could do than observe and walk through and shake my head and leave, so I wish nothing happened, but I don't know, you know, if anything was there or avoidable or whatever happened, but I don't like the results. And, as having seen such, I think we have a obligation to make Methuen stand behind the work that they are in charge of. So this is gonna be a problem for them if they don't do it on this, whatever they, I guess I will say, don't step it up one notch for them not to step it up one notch on this possible repair. I want their best shot, because this will be their last shot. That being said, I'm gonna interrupt Tara. We have some, folks from Plain Street. Are the residents from Plain Street on the call?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hello there, could we, just for the record, go through the identification, you folks' names and addresses?
Tony Beggars, Plain Street.
Tony, what was your last name?
Berger?
Okay, thank you.
Rhonda Circle, 53 Plain Street.
Thank you, Rhonda.
John Shipping, 53 Plain Street.
Hi, John.
Sean McDonald, Plain Street.
Anybody else?
That's it.
Okay, thank you. I'm gonna turn the, mic over to Steve Peterson from Weston and Sampson, who has had a chance to speak with our consultant that was out of town for a couple of weeks. Go ahead, Steve.
So thanks, Luke. Again, this is Steve Peterson with Weston and Sampson. Luke, we've looked into a couple of things you asked us to. Maybe I'll start with just, putting some context on the discussion, where we've been, where we're at. So we're specifically talking about the residents on Plain Street between the North School and the interceptor sewer down in the old railroad bed. That sewer was installed back in 2016 as part of the town center sewer project. At the time, so back when the sewer was installed and approved for use, beneficial occupancy letters did go out. So letters were sent to the the residents on this stretch that were fronted by the gravity sewer and had a stub extended to their property. So those letters went out in December of 2016. And basically the letters explained that the homeowners were fronted by a sewer and that under the town's bylaws they had 5 years to connect. So I think that's what brings us here today. We're about 15 months from 5 years, if I'm doing the math right. So December of 2021 will represent 5 years. You know, so in terms of the requirement to connect, the 5-year requirement, as I said, it's a town bylaw, so that's not something that's part of the Water and Sewer Commission regulations. This is something that was voted on town meeting floor, and is something that the entire town had to take a vote on. And the wisdom behind it is that if we're going to build these sewers and make the investment in sewers in town, people are going to connect. That's how we're going to utilize this investment, is make sure that that all the people along the way connect at some point. So, you know, in terms of the 5 years, that's, you know, it is what it is. That's where we're at right now. I think one of the bigger questions that we were asked to look into was the payment, and specifically, you know, a one-time payment at the time of connection versus having the ability to possibly apportion it over time. So, you know, to take a step back, there's a couple of different ways projects like this are voted and constructed, and these fees can be paid. You know, the connection to the sewer can be paid either through, you know, what we call betterments and privilege fees, which are assessed up front at the beginning, or they can be assessed through connection fees, which is what we're talking about here. And it's really tied to how the project is voted, and there's various reasons why projects are set up different ways. I would say that the current project, the West Main Street project that is nearing completion now, was set up for the town meeting vote to assess all the properties along the way on Route 140 and 123 with betterments up front. So the way the betterments work is, as soon as the project is substantially complete and approved for use, instead of just getting a letter, I guess like these residents did, the bills go out. So you get a bill for your betterment assessment.
On a tax bill, Steve, or how?
So it starts, it's just a bill.
Yep.
And you have 30 days to pay it in full. And if you don't, it automatically goes to taxes. A lien is put on the property, and the bill goes to taxes, and it's apportioned over 20 years, and people just pay it through their taxes over time at 4% interest.
Okay.
So that's how it works under betterment. So if we had done this job under betterments, instead of a letter saying you have 5 years to connect, it would have been the bill, or technically the connection fee, you know, which would have been called a betterment then, and payments would have started, you know, pretty much 4 years ago,
Immediately.
either in full or apportioned over time with interest. So under the connection fee, the way it works is there's no bill that goes out up front. You don't pay until you connect. And I will also say under the betterment, so you get the betterment and you pay it whether you connect it or not, and you still have 5 years to connect.
Good.
So you start paying your bill, so we could be in the same situation. Everybody would have already paid, and if nobody had connected yet, they'd still be in the situation where they're, you know, they have that 5-year window to connect. It's just the timing of the payment of the capital portion of the project. So the connection fee is a one-time fee at the time of connection, and because it's not done at the beginning of the job, it's not something that is typically set up that the town can apportion it. So what we tried to look into is if there was any way to look at this as a privilege fee, which falls under the same category as betterments, which would, you know, if you were gonna do it as a privilege fee, technically you should have sent the bill out at the very beginning, but, you know, we kind of tried to look and see if there was a way to send the bills out now. So in lieu of the connection fee and the one-time payment, we were trying to see if we could just send the bills out now, like a betterment, and people would have 30 days to pay it, or then it would just get apportioned to taxes. We found out, you know, basically that is not an option. You know, mostly based on the way it was voted. We also, you know, in looking at it further, aren't sure that that's a better option. We feel that you know, because under that, you know, you're paying the 4% interest, you're paying it now, there'll be a lien on the property, and it will come off your tax bill. So the easy part is that it just goes to your tax bill, as opposed to having to come up with the money on your own. But that was really the biggest thing that we looked into, is if there was a way for the town to apportion it over time, and we did not come up with one under the laws and under the way it was bid. So,
I get it.
you know, the situation really is that the connection fee at the time, you know, and again, these properties are starting to get into that. Obviously, you know, they're here today because they know they're in that, closing in on that window where they need to be thinking about it. I will say that the connection fee is tied to the most recent betterments. They're assessed. The project that's being completed now, when we assess betterments, I don't know exactly what they will be, but we do know they will be higher than what the previous betterments was. The 11,550, I think, is the number that we're working with right now.
That's,
So once,
that's a 3-bedroom assessment.
yeah. So once the current project is complete and betterments are assessed, which will be not in this calendar year, but it will be sometime in 2021 that those will be assessed, there will likely be a new fee. There will be a new fee.
Right, and that becomes the new rate for anybody who ties in as a capital fee.
That is correct.
So,
That is correct. So,
just in summary, you folks heard this, the answer is the town cannot step back and make this a betterment situation. We did, as Steve said, look at 2 or 3 different possible methods that are just not done. It doesn't happen once it's voted. That's the vote, and that's what it is. And number 2, the price will go up after West Main Street's completed, and the basis for our all new sewer connections not already underway will be that new price. And I know that's not the answer you wanted to hear, but that's our thorough investigative answer. Do you have any questions?
If we hooked up right this block, if we hooked up right now, what is, so do we fall under the old assessment?
Right.
that is correct, yeah.
Yep. It's, a 4-bedroom house is, I think, 15 something.
I don't know.
And then
And I
the
have
other.
a 2-bedroom house.
So that, in Mass Title V requires all properties to be figured as 3 bedrooms in septic design and all sewer related. So it's a 3-bedroom is 11,000 something.
So how long do we have to look at that for that?
You have until the new project is substantially complete, which will be probably, is it after paving or after the?
After paving,
So
so
that will be fall of 2021.
maybe,
Okay.
probably summer of
Okay, so
2020.
it could be this, you know,
The paving will be completed ideally in May, and then the final costs will be in, and then the assessment, once we have the final costs in, then the assessments are issued. So it could be any time after June of 2021.
and what we're, looking at, I'm not interest expert, but what Steve said about the betterment, figured at 4%, that's kind of at this current time, a punch in the face, because I believe I know this is not other things people want to hear, but we're having financial talks, and I would feel, that I didn't give you a fair, talk if I didn't say the interest rates are just under 3% right now, so if you could somehow figure out equity in your house, or some sort of longer loan, whatever your local bank would want to do. I've seen rates as low as 2.75 right now. So that's substantially less than the 4% that the town would do in their betterment scenario. And also, you've had 4 years, more or less, of no payments at all. And as Steve said, the projects that are funded with betterment, the payments start at substantial completion, whereby you either get the bill and pay it in full, or you let it go over and pay it quarterly with your taxes. And I know that's probably an easier way for people, but if you can, maybe refi something, or I know it's a lot of work, but it's a way to stretch it out on your own and pay somewhat less than the 4% that the town would, in the case that we could do it, which we can't.
And there would be no lien.
And, right, that was the other thing. When it rolls over onto a betterment, the town actually has a lien on your property. And again, I know this is not news you wanted to hear. I just, I wanted to be thorough in our investigations for this issue and going forward. And it is a town bylaw. It really isn't rules and regs of our Water Sewer Commission. I told you 2 meetings ago that prior to this 5 years, it was 2 years. For many years since the sewers went in, you had 2 years to tie in. So a group of people got together and petitioned the town meeting and changed the town bylaw. This is a town bylaw that we are charged with enforcing. So there's not a lot of leeway in that either. I don't have a solution for you folks, other than try to stretch it out. You know, you have, as you've done your diligence, you have some time to put this together, and maybe work some financing out, or that sort of thing.
William, Plain State.
Hi, William.
Hi, we're taking the time to explore this option, and also that this is probably the most complete see. Certainly want to thank you for that. But just to clarify what I'm saying, so if you excuse me, if you complete the project on Main Street, and then the rates go up, we will be assessing the rates also to tie in.
Yeah, it's the way to look at it is the same as you folks. Everybody else who ties in after that point in time is paying what we see as the infrastructure cost of the town to that point in time. So yes, I would say each individual person, household, gather in the next 6 months, gather a folder and come to us in 4 or 6 months, and we can maybe receive a deposit or some sort of payment intention, and look at that as far as giving you a little bit of time to gather the rest of your stuff. So if you apply for the capital fee and that sort of thing, we will look at that as you have begun your application and payment process. But give us 4 to 6 months. Maybe this crazy COVID goes away and we can sit down and go over some paperwork and look at other things. But I had to get this back to you. I wish I had a better answer, but this is all we have. But yeah, the West Main Street thing is not happening until at the earliest summer. They have to pave it and then review all expenses. That's a lengthy process. So When it gets cold in January and hopefully, football is still on, take a Saturday and look at what you have and get on a meeting agenda, and we'll talk about how you can structure a deposit and the subsequent payment.
Once again, really, it seems like the changed because the other project will the original term, 5 years, is sort of negated.
It really is.
It's not a fun.
I understand. I think I understand what you're asking, and it really isn't because you haven't had the opportunity to tie in since it started.
Yeah, but that's not the point. Years to do it. That was the original rule, law, and instituted where we done that by 4.5 years.
You're tying that to the fee. So the way the regs are written is you have 5 years to tie in, and the connection fee that you pay is equivalent to the most recent betterment that was assessed as of the time that you apply for and pay your connection fee. So if the connection fee changes within the 5 years, you're subject to whatever the time you choose to connect in that 5-year window. The regs are clear that it's tied to whatever the current rate for betterment is.
I see.
So in the legalese of the world, they would say you wait at your own peril. And through our investigation, we did see that it is something we wanted to make you aware of. So you do have.
One last question, now.
Yep.
I still why the place not tying in to get
So, yeah, we tried to explain this before. I know it's a little confusing because the infrastructure went in the road. The difference really is the type of infrastructure. The sewers from the pump station at Wheaton up to the North School is a force main. We did not extend connections. It's not designed or intended for connection. That's just transporting the wastewater from the pump station, the town center pump station, which is on Wheaton College, and going to collect flow from ultimately all of Route 123 and around the reservoir, and bringing it to the top of the hill. We don't want anybody tapping into or messing with that pipe based on the pressures and the amount of flow that's going to be coming through that line. So the sewers on Pine Street and Plain Street up to the top of the hill are force main sewers that are dedicated just to move the flow from the pump station to the gravity sewer in front of the North School that then flows down. So that's why these properties were the only ones that were fronted with the gravity sewer, and services were extended off of the roadway and to the edge of the property.
Okay. Now, is there an amendment sewer lines laid in front of you? Connect to it at 5 years. Is there an amendment that you're not aware of?
I didn't get that completely, but the bylaw is with respect to properties that are afforded a sewer connection.
Okay, well, I understand that according to the bylaw, the sewer line is laid in front of the property.
Yeah.
And it's mandatory that you come in.
Yep, and it is. And I think we're hung up on the definition of a sewer line. You are still considering the force main a sewer line that someone can tie into. And I understand the confusion, but that is not a line intended for connections.
Who's stating that it's not intended for connections? Is it legal connected to that?
The town does not allow it. So.
Is it illegal?
It is by the town's rules, but illegal, do you mean has nobody else ever done it? It can be done. It can be done. can be done, but this town does not do that, and they're smart not to.
What happens in these situations is, the high horsepower pumps at our central lift station, over time, overpower the residential size pumps at the homes. And I don't want to get crazy, but you can imagine the situation where maybe a backflow valve sticks and a pump is undersized and overworked and stopped. We'll just stop my little experiment there, because the high horsepower pump from the center station is going to work. There's probably 2 pumps in a lead lag, so if the one fails, the secondary pump is going to carry the load.
It's just that the pressures in that line are not conducive to a single-family home putting in a pump and tying in. They're subject to what Luke is saying. You know, they could take on everything. That pump station could blow right through their service, and that would be a bad thing. I'll leave it at that.
It wasn't to go the extra mile support to the main.
William,
Down the hill?
William, you do, are there friction calculations, so
I mean, the idea is, anywhere where we can flow downhill, we're trying to do that, and flow by gravity. So, that's the intent of the design. So, I don't know how, obviously you're frustrated that the gravity sewer only goes to the top of the hill, and you're the only ones that are fronted by that. I don't know if there's anything we can do about that now. I mean, that's the policy, and that's standard design practice. So I don't know how else to answer that.
I think that what it is is that we are actually frustrated with the fact that a system was designed intentionally violating the town bylaw. I mean, coming down, there is not a single home that has hook up a high pressure line going up the hill is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, it may be a very powerful pump. That would probably be gathering with smaller pump, or something that requires a little bit more maintenance or upfront cost. It seems to us like somebody was probably looking to save some cost and on this gravity set. I have a couple questions. You guys mentioned the town bylaws by 2004, and then you mentioned meeting, which decides who gets betterment and who has to pay hookup fees. Who has these meetings?
Well, they're voted at town meeting. So the appropriation.
Voted on claims to be used by hookup fees instead of betterment. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's the language in the article that was voted at town meeting.
Yes, in the article on Plain Street line. To have it be hooked up through hookup fees in this I'll call it moving system.
I will take a step back and say, no, I'm not going to say it, never mind. I don't know where you're getting at. I mean,
I look up all day for a living. I look
Yeah.
up town code for all day. I look up, engineering code all day for a living. I understand the regulate how everything works and design and cost benefit ratios. So if we make a decision, use the project the way it was done, in violation of the bylaws, all the burden onto us,
I think-
gravity.
the way you're choosing your words.
Hold on,
it's-
Steve.
Okay.
I'm not aware that, you're saying that the project violated the bylaws. The project really didn't. The project is supported by the bylaws, of which you are closing in on your 5-year anniversary.
But you guys are collectively enforcing.
How so?
Not all the homes on it.
Yeah, I think I started with that. I don't think we can get you past that.
Yeah.
I understand.
I'm going to
Go
chime
ahead.
in, and we've explained that in the fact that there are other residents in the entire town that pressure lines go in front of that don't have access to the sewer, and they're not paying any connection fees, nor can they. They can't
And when they
connect.
get one, they'll get a betterment.
And I know it upsets you folks now, but when your septic fails, you will be very glad that you're on the sewer system, but.
I'll call you back in 20 years when that happens.
So okay. I mean, again,
Sarcasm isn't gonna work. I feel like we've bent over backwards to do what we could and uncover
And I think
anything.
you could ask a lot of different people what they would have preferred. We obviously could have assessed, we could have, this project could have been voted, and betterments could have been assessed, and you could have started paying 4 years ago, at 4% interest. Maybe you consider that better than the situation you're in now. I would argue that some don't consider that better, but I can't speak for everyone.
All of us agree.
And that's, so
And
you
I
were
can imagine-
referring to started paying 4 years ago?
Pay all at once.
Okay.
Does anybody have any new questions?
No, William Franklin, I just want to say thank you to Tom, the answer of this, everything, well, we should do.
You're welcome.
I appreciate that. I just, like I said, I wish we had a better answer on, we're limited in what we can do. I understand your frustration, but like I said, if you can look at your financial institution and see if a refi or whatever at a lower rate than the 4%, you would actually win in the long run. And again, you've stepped out a year ahead of where you need to be, or at least 8 months. So in 4 to 6 months, please, each of you who are hearing this, you don't need to be the group. You can be the group. We welcome any citizens, but each of you who are listening to this, save up a couple bucks, and we'll try to figure out a way to somehow lock in this rate, whether it's a deposit or a fee structure or whatever that is. But let's leave that at that. So there is one more possible advantage.
Very well. Thank you so much for looking at this. Appreciate it. I'll tell you when
I'm sorry. Yes, Ron, did you please repeat? I did have one more actually.
Okay, Rhonda.
When it comes to the actual tie-in, are we provided a list?
Yes.
Is it a list we can get now with contractors to see who actually does that?
Right. Yep.
Yeah, the town has that list, the water and sewer department. And if you still have the letter that was sent, the information. So it says in the letter to call the water and sewer department.
Yeah, our office staff can either email you or shoot you a list of approved sewer tie-in contractors.
Okay, it is a list we can get now.
Absolutely.
Yep.
I mean, like, not right now, we don't have any administrative assistants on right now, but if,
I understand. Yeah,
Call the office.
we would certainly, encourage you to call the office and get a list.
All right, I'll do that. Thank you.
Thanks, Rhonda. Anybody else?
Consent. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thanks, Any update?
I believe, if Tara, I interrupted you, you were.
I am done, yes.
You were wrapping it up, I didn't. Okay. Steve, sewer please.
They're continuing to install pipe. We got about 1,000 feet left. We moved from rock into water. I struggle a little with the water now, but they're going to figure that out. And I'm just letting you know that now
It's better than the rock.
it's 6-1, half dozen than nothing. You know, so they're seeing water. So we're still down about 12 or 13 feet, and they're seeing water at 10 feet.
Yep.
So there's a little bit of water to
Yep.
deal with, but the water level shows that it's going to drop off some more, and the pipe's coming up. So
Luckily, we're in the driest part of the season.
Yeah.
If this were April, we'd really be, I bet it would be a couple of
But
feet higher.
so they're going to do a couple of things to shore up their methods. We've been having a little trouble on the last 2 pipes with the pitch. You know, they put it in and then it settled a little the next morning, so they had to redo it. Today they had to redo a piece.
Yep.
So they haven't done much left
at all for the last.
They haven't done any blasting. They
look like they're moving along pretty well.
sent the blaster home. They don't intend to blast anything.
Okay, good.
Now, we'll see if there are some more refusals coming up as they come up past the high school.
Honeydew in the high school.
Actually, not the high school. They just have to get to Honeydew.
All right.
But the sewer is shallow. So we showing some refusals at like 4 feet and the sewer is 7 feet. You know, as opposed to refusals at 2 feet and the sewer being 16 feet. So they'll be able to, they will hammer
Yep.
and they will be more productive, or they'll be faster than they were. We're past Walgreens, yeah. Still just on the, we're in the front of the Walmart's property. Walgreens, I can't get there.
Are they doing, the wick wells every so often? They're doing a bunch of wells down there and they're pumping from them, or no? They're pumping in the trench?
No, they're pumping out of the trench. So yeah, it's not working great.
No.
And they also
'Cause it
need to
makes-
start bringing in some wrap, to wrap the stone, some of that, rubber fabric.
Yep.
Because they're backfilling, pulling the plates, and then stropping them,
Yep.
which we don't want.
No.
We don't. So they're figuring it out. It just started, Friday, or Thursday when they put pipe in.
Right.
It caved on Friday.
I saw them still working on my way here. They're doing 10-hour days
They're
this week?
pushing, yes, they did 4 10-hour days last week. They're trying to do 4 10-hour days this week.
Which
But they
I
were
have,
already
Yeah.
pushing 10-hour days.
no, I have to
They
commend them.
wanna get-
I haven't seen them out early one day.
Yeah.
If they're working till 5 or 6 o'clock.
No, they're putting time in. It's just,
Production.
efficiency,
Yep.
we're working on. They run into something new every day.
I've helped on crews where they had every 70 or so feet the wicks, and you put a 6-inch pump in an 8-inch pipe, and maintain right beside the trench, so you're not cumbersome
Yeah.
in the trench with all your stuff. And I don't know, I guess they have to come up with that solution.
Yep. So I do have.
But I'm glad there's no rock.
Yeah, for now, no wrong. I do have, the pay application. I had submitted it at the end of last week. Frank was already gone on vacation. I sent it through email, but I brought hard copies today. I do recommend payment of this one. It's a little over $600,000. This was a big chunk of work, when they got all that pipe in finally, and the remainder of the blasting.
Right.
The $400 a yard blasting. So it's $615,000 on this payout, which we recommended.
And, that one has extras, or doesn't have extras that you are negotiating with, or any extras on that have been approved?
Yes, there's nothing to discuss here in terms of that.
All right.
We will, probably for the next meeting, have a change order for the drainage that they're going out right now. They've taken out, remove the corridor and we're going right where the drain is. Instead of trying to mess with trying to protect the drain and digging carefully, we're in an area where we're just ripping the drain out and then we're gonna put a new one in after. And the production we gain is worth the price, we feel of the pipe.
And the upgraded drain.
And you have the drainage.
So what payment rec is that? Is that number 3?
This is number 11.
11, okay. So I would like a motion for payment rec number 11 for the West Main Street Sewer project.
Motion to approve, payment rec number 11 on the West Main Street sewer project.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I can bring this to you.
Yep, we'll sign it.
So, yeah, you meet again in 2 weeks. I'll probably have that change order. I'll try and get it to you at another meeting so we can discuss it. And we are gonna, now that we got a better, we feel like they're gonna be done in November. That's when they have to be done based on the time extension we gave them. We are working on an amendment. We are gonna run out of our hours as of September. We're gonna be out of our hours, which we did our best to stretch it. We're already way beyond. It was supposed to be done in June, so we'll be putting an amendment in front of you, as was discussed and included in the town meeting vote. Yes, was already discussed. So those will be 2 things for discussion at the next meeting.
I think if my contractor gut feel is right, they will get through the water issue, and with any luck at all, I see them at least getting the pipe in the ground by November. There's, like I said, there, you know, this was a short week, but everything else is
They
now.
can get 100 feet a week.
Yeah.
It's 10 weeks.
Right, so I think it's doable.
100 feet a week, I mean, some contractors get 100 feet a day.
Right,
I get it that this job isn't your typical,
no.
this isn't a 100-foot a day job.
It's
With the
not,
contractor, it's not a
no,
100 foot a day.
they had to know that coming in.
Yeah, but it can be a 50-foot a day.
Yes, but some days they'll do 150. But,
That's
very good.
everything.
Trustee Mann, any last thoughts?
Nope.
This is, the 8th, so our next meeting is at 14 is 22. Please look for us then. May I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn, this lovely night.
I'll second that. Thank you all. See you in 2 weeks.